news. First Alert Weather Extra starts now.
Welcome into First Alert Weather Extra. Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt. Our First Alert Weather Day has ended, but it was quite the day. We had some high winds, a lot of outages across the state of Alabama this evening. I know a lot of folks are watching us via our streaming platforms, and that's where you can find us right here, of course, on Weather Extra, but possibly you're watching in on a mobile device. Just know the severe threat for storms has ended for tonight. Sadly, 3 fatalities related to the weather across the state of Alabama. It has certainly been a very active day, but a lot of changes, fast changes, typically involves some gusty winds. As we go to our First Alert weather headlines, we still have a wind advisory in effect. That's going to continue through 9 o'clock. Now, earlier at times today, we had winds gusting up to 50 miles per hour in parts of our area. There was one report, the mayor in Tuscaloosa said there was an observation in that area showing 70 miles per hour, but those kind of winds were moving across the state today. Strong wind gusts, but the winds now more into the 20, 30 max range across our area. The cooler air hasn't quite made it to our area just yet, but it's coming. Tonight we'll have lows taking the tumble down into the 40s, and we have a dry, sunny weekend, which means we will enjoy some rapid improvements during the afternoon hours. As we go to AccuTrack radar, you can see the tail end of that line still showing up down across our far southeast Alabama there. You get into places like Beauregard and south to Auburn. We've been watching this. There's Highway 280. There's Opelika, Beauregard. This is south to Auburn right now, pushing down towards the Highway 80 corridor. This is non-severe at the moment, and we didn't see tornadoes as we talked about. The wind was the big story out of this system today as it moved across the area, but we did see some of those yesterday. Some of the models were showing some of those significant tornado parameters that were showing up across east Alabama. The closest warnings we had, there was a tornado in northeast Alabama in parts of DeKalb County, northern DeKalb County, and Jackson County, but it seemed like the storms, there was actually a cap in the atmosphere today. A lot of the weather balloon data was showing some warm air aloft, which provided an inversion, and that was enough. You take that out of the mix, and we had so many ingredients today that checked the boxes, but you saw the winds. These are all wind damage reports around the area. What you're looking at here are where we had the gradient wind damage in a lot of locations like Tuscaloosa here. See this one storm report, large tree down on Greensboro Avenue. That was from a social media report, Tuscaloosa, due to the gradient wind. So non-thunderstorm related wind damage. Same for this report in Fultondale. You see a large tree that was blocking Walker Chapel Road in Fultondale, and since it's still kind of windy out there, you'll want to be careful, out there on those secondary roads tonight in case you do encounter some issues. And listen, this is not just for Alabama. Folks tuning in from around the country on our streaming show here, parts of Tennessee, we've seen winds there gusting over 60 miles per hour, thousands without power there in states north of us as this powerful system moves through. There was actually a parking deck right across from McWane Science Center. We had a large piece of awning there or siding, part of the roof kind of collapsed. We'll show you some of those scenes coming up here, but just want to show you some of the wind reports, as you can tell there across the state. I want to flip over to another source here and just show you some of the pictures. We got so many of these weather photos that you sent in. This was from McCalla as the storms moved through earlier. Janice Brown sharing this earlier today, but McCalla was one of those areas where the rain picked up. Yeah, it got very windy at times, but there were some locations, well, there you go. You can see the visibility there dropping off as it was about a 15-minute window. That was it as that line moved across the state. But this was one area where the winds were not quite as gusty as some of the other areas that we saw. This is after the storm. Yolanda is sharing this photo with us. You can see a large trampoline there. We saw a lot of photos like this, and someone said it was the Alabama state bird. The Alabama state bird has flown today, but you often see, these high wind events, you see these trampolines flying around. This was in Pell City. Deborah Heitzman sharing this from St. Clair County. That was one area. Let's see what we have here. This is from Lance Holes, just east of Center, 3 miles there. So this is some of that active weather. You can see those winds were really whipping here across Cherokee County. Look at that. as those storms moved into East Alabama. But it's amazing. This happened today, and I know you look outside right now, and it's like an entirely different picture across the state. But a lot of trees were toppled, and a lot of areas right now where we still have some power outages. There's a tree that's down in Blount County. John Dunston sharing these, but we have just so many, and a lot of what we saw, some outdoor storage structures, especially some of those storage houses, and we saw a lot of those flipped over, pieces of tin kind of peeled back from rooftops, some roof damage, siding damage, that sort of damage with respect to the wind, and then, of course, a lot of trees. And it really didn't help yesterday that we had all that wind, all that rain that's just soaked the ground, and that it didn't take much for some of those trees there to topple. Let me show you the power outage numbers. This is what we have. This is a county base showing 6,500 customers there in Jefferson County without power. You can see in Coleman County, Coleman Electric there, 12,000 customers without power. Look to the north here. You can see Nashville, that number was over 100,000 and now it's 92,000. But I have a friend there in the Nashville area and says, I can't remember seeing winds like this with sun shining, but that's the kind of setup that we've had. We've got this powerful, let me show you here on the radar, a powerful mid-latitude traveling cyclone, and you can see as it made its way, let's do a 12-hour lapse on this, and you can see how this all evolved, and see that big low as it kind of pulls away there and lifts north. That's what's generated that tight gradient. And anytime you have this kind of change, this kind of temperature discontinuity, notice right there we've got snow near Indianapolis, and then you got severe weather just 400 to 500 miles away there impacting parts of the southeast. But quite a dynamic system impacting the region for today. Again, big improvements on the way for our weekend that we'll get into coming up in our first alert forecast. And also coming up here on Weather Extra, meteorologist Tania Michelle introduces us to Weather Watcher Tyler Young, and also some weather scams to watch out for. More on what happened in Texas from this same storm, and we'll talk about the rain next week. Stay with us.
We know weather can be grab the umbrella or jogging shoes, but it's so much more. It's a science, an art, led by knowledge and experience.
And no one has more of that than a WBRC First Alert weather team.
Warning you first with more hours committed to you. And the first forecast built to see weeks, days, and even minutes ahead, right down to where you live. From the team you trust on your favorite screen.
Doing the weather better. The WBRC First Alert weather team, always on your side.
Some people may think you're overreacting. Some may ask, is there a storm coming? That's okay, because knowing the first alert has helped you beat the rush. Being prepared puts you in control and changes the what if to you're okay. Knowing first is everything. First Alert Weather.
If you have plans for this weekend, we have a first alert for a wintry mix.
When you need to know next week, tomorrow, or even right now, the WBRC First Alert Weather Team is always on your side, whenever and wherever you need us. This is why we First Alert.
All right, well, welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. I'm your First Alert meteorologist, Tania Michelle, and I just wanted to wish you all a happy Friday. A lot has happened this week and a lot has happened today in general. So let's first take a look at some of the damage from today's fast-moving storms. Look at this. This occurred as storms moved across central Alabama this afternoon. Those strong winds toppling trees, causing structural damage and blowing off roofs. You're taking a look at a house on North Hangler Road in Northport. You can see just how much damage was done here, and this is just one area. And when bad weather like today strikes, unfortunately, con artists aren't far behind. Consumer investigator Carice Jackman explains how you can spot scammers and avoid a second disaster.
As the mercury starts to climb and winter fades, for many across the U.S., the threat of severe storms will rise.
You're like me, you live in Tornado Alley. You can kind of set your clock to something, going wrong, around March. So it's always best to have a plan in place because unfortunately, storms strike quickly and the devastation that is incurred sometimes strikes even quicker.
Josh Planos with the Better Business Bureau says no matter the region you're in, you should have a personal plan for bad weather and the potential aftermath. But along with that plan, Plano says you should prepare to avoid scammers posing as contractors, the federal government, or charities as they try to steal your personal information and money.
Unfortunately, we see folks who are really looking to weaponize everything from lumber to new identification cards and kind of everything in between.
The Federal Communications Commission issued guidelines on staying safe from those posing as legit contractors. If someone calls you about an insurance claim, don't give out any personal information or agree to any payment until you can independently verify that call is legitimate. The FCC also warned contractors may claim to be a partner with your insurance company. They caution to never give policy numbers, coverage details, or other personal information out to companies with whom you have not entered into a contract.
A lot of municipalities require solicitation permits. If salespeople go door to door, should ask for identification. Check their vehicle for a business name, a phone number, a license plate for your state or province. Right, it's a pretty typical giveaway if someone is driving in from out of state.
And remember, government disaster assistance agencies do not call or text asking for financial account information, and there is no fee required to apply for or get disaster assistance from FEMA or the Small Business Administration. With this watching your wallet, I'm Carice Jackman.
And today marks 4 years since an EF4 tornado hit Lee County, killing 23 people and injuring 90 others. Parts of the county still cleaning up from the damage. 41 tornadoes touched down across Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina that day, with a dozen of them hitting Alabama. And now switching our attention to our west, Texas is in the cleanup process from storms hitting their area this week too. Take a look at this. All right, here is Hopkins County.
Somebody said, man, that train sounds loud. And I said, ain't no train. The train noise comes from there. We looked up and there it was coming straight through the daggone woods. It looked like Moses was parting the Red Sea.
This is Hopkins County. You can see trees down in the area with one garage demolished and thrown into the yard. One man says he was playing pool with his friends when he heard the storm.
Somebody said, man, that train sounds loud. And I said, ain't no train. The train noise comes from there. We looked up and there it was coming straight through the daggone woods. It looked like Moses was parting the Red Sea.
At least 19 homes were damaged in the area. We'll be right back after the break.
Are you noticing mold or discoloration in your shower? Or maybe you just want to replace that old bathtub with something more modern and luxurious? Well, either way, we've got you covered. Hey everybody, I'm joined by BJ Worzen, owner of West Shore Home, to talk a little shower and bath remodeling and how West Shore is making the entire process from start to finish fast and easy. Are you noticing mold or discoloration in your shower? Or maybe you just want to replace that old bathtub with something more modern and luxurious? Well, either way, we've got you covered. Hey everybody, I'm joined by BJ Worzen, owner of West Shore Home, to talk a little shower and bath remodeling and how West Shore is making the entire process from start to finish fast and easy. BJ.
Thanks, Joe. At West Shore Home, we understand the headaches and stress a remodeling project can cause. That's why everything that we do is designed to make it stress-free for our customers.
A lot of people don't think of remodeling as stress-free, especially bath remodeling. So how are you making a complicated process easier?
Everything in our process can be done from the comfort of your own home. Give us a call and we'll send one of our bath experts out that has a time that's most convenient for you. And when it comes time for that installation, we're going to send one of our employee installers out and complete that project in as little as 1 day.
So no running out to big box stores and comparing samples and colors and then maybe waiting months for the installation. You're saying this is an all-inclusive process, making it really fast and easy for customers. That's great. Now, BJ, I understand you have a flash sale going on right now. Tell us about that.
That's right, Joe. Right now, anyone that gives us a call, we're going to do free installation on all shower and bath remodeling projects. On top of that, we're going to be doing 12 months, no interest, no payment financing. That means you can get that bath project done right now and not have to make any payments or pay any interest until 2024.
Free installation, that's a great offer. Well, let's see some projects you've done recently.
Absolutely, let's take a look. Here, we were able to completely remove an outdated shower and bath and install something that matched the rest of their bathroom. That low step feature is going to make getting in and out of that shower really easy. And the sleek matte black hardware looks amazing. Here's a few more. All of these were installed in one day, and just a reminder, for a limited time, anyone that calls will get free installation on their shower and bath project.
BJ, thanks so much. Folks, call West Shore Home now for this limited time offer. It's free installation on all shower and bath projects. Plus, for limited time, BJ is doing 12 months of no payments and no interest financing. Get your shower project now and don't worry about making a single payment until 2024. Call West Shore Home now.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra across the WBRC Fox 6 coverage area. We still have a wind advisory. You can see that system that we are tracking there back to the north. Looking at the radar across Alabama, tail end of that line now pushing down into far southeast Alabama. Birmingham right now to Tuscaloosa, Gadsden. You can see the sky's been mostly clear, but we do have some low clouds. You see that? Starting to drift in from the north. This is that cooler air that's going to be moving in. The infrared satellites picking up on that cloud cover. So the sky will become mostly cloudy again. And check in tonight. Tania is going to be with you on the news tonight at 9, 9:30, and 10 o'clock. We'll have some updates on those forecast lows for tonight. It certainly looks like some 40s out there early tomorrow morning. Highway 80 again around Smith Station and Beauregard. That line, it really slowed down here as it got into the Auburn area, but nothing severe at the moment. And looking back into parts of Georgia and into parts of the Carolinas there, you can see that line is right now the lightning's really dropped off with that very thin line that's moving on to the east now as the dynamics kind of lift away and lift north. That's going to lessen the degree of severity with that line. But this weekend, sunshine, we have 60s and 70s again for the overnight lows. This one model in particular shows those temperatures staying in the 50s here through midnight tonight. But then tomorrow you get into the early morning and you start to see a lot of 40s there. We may actually start out tomorrow morning close to 40 degrees, places like Coleman and Hamilton. But the rest of the day, we will have some sunshine, and that will allow those temperatures to rebound into the 60s there during the afternoon hours, showing 60 in Tuscaloosa. And we'll probably see some 70s closer to Demopolis there later in the day. Sunday looks nice and sunny if you want to wash the car. I'm sure it won't take long. The tree pollen will come back. Sunday and Monday also overall not bad there as far as the weather forecast goes. Looking at next week, we are going to see some showers come back. We do have a 20% chance of rain on Monday and into next Tuesday. And then we got to watch later on next week. I think Wednesday and Thursday we could start to see some rain setting up in areas to the north. And then by next Friday and possibly next weekend around the 11th, we could see some more heavy rain and stormy weather on the way, something that we're going to be watching. But right now, one of the great tools or one of the great teams that we have here at WBRC is our First Alert weather watchers on days like today. All the ground truth, all the spotter information just helps us out greatly. And meteorologist Tania Michelle takes us to visit one of our weather watchers.
Oh yeah, you know what time it is. It's time for Mets Around the World. But today we're meeting a First Alert weather watcher. So we're going to take a trip to Trussville, Alabama to meet Tyler Young. Here is Tyler Young. Take a look. Okay, Tyler, so you're a weather watcher, but let's start from the beginning. Where does your interest in weather begin?
Well, in 1993, there was a big blizzard here in Alabama. I was 11 years old, and kind of after that, I just kind of got more and more interested in weather. Just kind of what causes the snow and what causes tornadoes, what makes the rain happen.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, so at 11 years old, I know most people say, oh yeah, a tornado happened, but for you it was a blizzard.
That's right.
It was a blizzard.
That's right.
So at 11 years old, I guess we don't get much snow. You were here in Alabama?
Yes, I was in Marion County,
okay.
In Hamilton, Alabama at the time. I remember missing school. Our power, believe it or not, never went out, but a lot of Alabama lost their power. It was interesting having a foot of snow, 15 inches, 12 inches to 15 inches, and there were some places that was 18 inches. as an 11-year-old in Alabama, I mean, that's like a kid's dream come true.
It's like a Christmas gift.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so after your interest in weather sparked, how did it kind of maneuver or change over the years? Did you start to research weather at 11 years old or get more into it at that point?
I paid a lot more attention to it, but the older I got, you know, I started following temperature, like I said, temperature changes, and I love science. But going, if I could reverse, I would have probably went to meteorology school, honestly. Looking back on it, you know, just kind of backtrack a little bit, I'd have probably done that. But things really started getting more interesting, you know, obviously in 2011, when a tornado outbreak happened here in Alabama. That's what, I mean, probably the biggest event in my lifetime ever.
Yeah, so tell me about that day. Where were you at and what happened? Kind of walk me through that story from your perspective.
Yeah, so I lived on Highway 280 in Birmingham at the time, and I'll never forget that morning waking up, and it was, of course, my alert went off on my phone, and it wasn't a tornado that morning, it was straight line winds early in the morning, and then as the day progressed, it was more tornadoes. You know, I can't remember the number we had, but we had an outstanding number. About halfway through, I remember playing tennis that morning, and it was like 85 degrees, and I thought to myself, this doesn't feel right. It stormed this morning, and playing tennis before lunch, just something didn't feel right. I guess about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 3 o'clock, we got a phone call about our farm place in North Alabama. And I've actually got some photos from that if you'd like
Pull it
to
up.
see them.
Yes, absolutely. So what's this a picture of right here?
This right here was built during the Civil War, and this was a farm place that's been in my family since the Civil War. So a lot of history in this area. It's my family's property up in Ewan, Alabama, in Marion County. This is what it looked like after the storm came through.
My goodness.
Which was a heartbreaker.
Wow.
These here are limbs that were pulled off of trees, and they were actually sticking in the siding of another house about 100 yards from this house. Amazingly, did not get hardly touched except the siding ripped off. The structure stayed, but these were all over the place. And just to show how powerful that tornado was, if I recall correctly, the one that started there is one of the ones that ended up in Hackleburg.
Oh, wow.
So it ended up being, I think, an EF4 or EF5. But ever since this particular day was when my nerd came out in me.
It really came out.
Really started.
So let me ask you about this day. No one was at the property at the time that it got destroyed.
Correct.
So that's a blessing in itself.
Absolutely.
And so when you guys went back, was it the same day, that night, or the next day?
It was the very next day.
The very next day.
Yeah.
And that's what you saw.
Oh yeah. I mean, you pull up to something like that right there.
Yeah, it doesn't even look the same. Absolutely not.
No, I mean, night and day.
Wow.
Now, this is actually another storm that came through at my parents' house in Center Point. Just to talk, about how important it is to be prepared for storms. You never know.
Right.
Some people don't take them serious at all.
Until it comes in their area, they're like, "Oh, I never see storms over here," and you just never know.
But
wow.
There's a little more of them before and after, and then the limbs that we had picked up. But for a tornado to rip bark off of a limb in a tree was just mind-boggling to me.
Absolutely. Okay, so after 2011, is that when you became a weather watcher, or when did you become a weather watcher?
2016.
Okay.
At Weatherfest.
Oh, what's Weatherfest?
Well, they don't have it anymore, and they haven't had it, and we'll have to get it West back on that.
Okay.
They had it downtown at the McWayne Science Center.
Okay.
They had all the guys were there. They had the little storm chaser out there.
Okay.
And it had the meter on the screen in there. They had a green screen set up so you could play, act like you were doing the weather and everything. You could look inside the storm chaser and see how they do it when they ride around. I'm sure you've maybe got to experience that or will.
Yeah.
But that day I talked to Wes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I talked to JP and I talked to Wes and Link, and actually over the years, Wes and I and JP, we've become really good friends.
Really good friends.
Yeah.
I love that.
Absolutely.
So in 2016, You
Correct.
became a weather watcher. So at that Weather Fest, I'm not really familiar with it. Is that when they were like, hey, we have this opportunity, or?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the time I lived in, let's see, that was in 2016. We lived in Moody.
Okay.
So I was a weather watcher for Moody.
Nice.
So 2 years ago, we moved to Argo.
Okay.
So, which is literally across the bridge here, a mile and a half, not even a mile and a half. And I did the Argo weather watching. And then I sent Wes a text and said, hey,
I'm moving.
I'm moving again. We got three different towns from this guy here. So all in, basically 2 counties, St. Clair, Jefferson County, and we're in Jefferson now. So, but here in Trussville, Trussville's a larger city in the Birmingham area, or one of the larger cities in the area. So I mean, I absolutely love going out on my little thing and looking at my phone. It reports to my phone, so I can check the temperature and the
all day long,
rain wherever I am.
That's
and sometimes
awesome.
my wife will actually, what are you doing? Well, I got to see what the weather was. I got to see what the high, the low, and the current temps and the rain is, and so I can send that in. But yeah, I mean, that's something
That's awesome. Okay, so one last question for you. What is your favorite part about being a weather watcher? What do you love most about it?
I love taking pictures.
Really?
Yes. I love going outside. Not necessarily in the worst part of a storm.
Right.
But if it's coming a downpour and I know there's going to be a safe way to get a photo of some lightning, I love doing that.
And you told me you actually just use your cell phone.
I do, in my iPhone.
You just use your phone.
Put it on a tripod and set it out there and put a little timer on it, and it takes those photos for me. I slow it down, capture those photos, and send them to Wes. I work at Deerfoot Insurance, so being on the insurance side of things, I'm able to see when a claim comes in after a storm. I'm usually the first one that gets a phone call when tornadoes come through. Hey, our roof blew off last night.
Wow.
So being able to get that phone call from that person on a personal line, being able to share, hey, I'm here for you, and even sharing my faith with them.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's good.
Just to comfort them. People need that these days.
Oh, I had the greatest time meeting Tyler Young, and I hope you did too. But we'll be right back after the break for one more look at that 7-day forecast.
We heard the first alert. Mom says we have to go. She says I don't have time to grab any more toys.
Need to be in your tornado safe place. Get there right now as you have.
We have to get to our safe place because sometimes when you hear the siren, it's too late. That's why she says knowing first is everything.
We know weather can be grab the umbrella or jogging shoes, but it's so much more. It's a science, an art, led by knowledge and experience.
And no one has more of that than a WBRC First Alert weather team.
Warning you first with more hours committed to you. And the first forecast built to see weeks, days, and even minutes ahead, right down to where you live. From the team you trust on your favorite screen.
Doing the weather better. The WBRC First Alert weather team, always on your side.
The first alert is more than a warning. It's a promise. A promise to get you out of harm's way with plenty of time to spare. 4 walls and a roof can be replaced. Lives can't. That's why knowing first is everything. First Alert Weather.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. Here is that 7-day forecast. Listen, I'm giving you the first alert to enjoy a beautiful weekend. Nice conditions both your Saturday and your Sunday because we have more rain in the forecast for next week. But this is Weather Extra. You can tune in tonight for First at 9. I will be giving you the forecast updates at 9, 9:30, and also 10. So tune in tonight, and this is First Alert Weather Extra. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 6:30 every day.